All set?
Yep.
Good. I'll call the meeting of the Public Service Committee of the Gardner City Council to order for the meeting of March 25th, 2022 at 3 p.m. DPW headquarters. First order of business is a review. The record should reflect that all members are present at the meeting. And the first order of business is a review and approval of minutes of the prior meetings dated March 31st and April 28th, 2002.
Make a motion to approve waive reading the minutes and approve them as written.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Next order of business is an appeal to the sewer department regarding, is it German?
Yes.
It goes with German Silva at 225 Woodland Avenue. I think that was a misprint by the building people. Woodland Avenue. We'll see. Well, Mr. Silva,
Yes, how you doing?
good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is a meeting of the Public Service Committee of the Gardner City Council to address the issue of a billing that was apparently sent to you for work that was done on your sewer service on Woodland Avenue.
Yes.
That's 225 Woodland Avenue, if I'm not correct. Is that
Yes, that's it.
The document we have says Woodlawn Avenue.
No,
No,
there's misspelling there.
Okay, but it's Woodland Avenue.
Yes.
Up by the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right in front of the hospital,
Yeah,
yes.
very good, thank you. Well, why don't we have the director explain the situation for the record so that we have an understanding?
Well, can jump in anytime if I say something that's incorrect. I believe you had a block sewer service on your property. You were gonna have a contractor come in and excavate and dig down and fix the sewer blockage. They didn't find the blockage on your properties? They thought it was on the street?
I was told that it was on my property. I find a company who did the excavation, and it was no problem in my property. Either way, I changed the pipe because I was already there, so I put a new pipe in there.
So, but it didn't block, it didn't solve the problem of the blockage?
No, it didn't solve the
Oh,
problem.
okay.
So the city, we came out and we televised the sewer main and where the sewer service,
This is the main that you're...
the main itself
Yeah.
in Woodland Avenue, where a sewer service should have tied in, there was no inlet, there was no service connection.
No connection.
So we thought maybe we sealed over the service. I think we sealed, we relined that pipe, I think it was like 2005, which didn't make sense because it's been 18 years since it's been, we thought there would have been a blockage in the household and whatnot. But at that point, we thought we might have sealed over the service. So we made the call to hire our contractor to come in and excavate at the main. And
In the street?
In the street. And as the contractor got down to the service came in, but it did a funky bend around the other side of the sewer main, and because I believe there was ledge there, and made a tie-in, and they found that his sewer service had disconnected, and that's what the problem was out in the city street. City wouldn't have known, city might thought it was the sewer main. There was no way of really telling whether it was the service or not at that point, because it was literally right above the main.
And the service connection or blockages in the service are the responsibility of the homeowner, and blockages in the main are the responsibility of the city.
Correct.
Is what he said essentially what you understand the case to be?
Yes, it was a weird connection. It was over the main line and going over to the other side of the...
Yeah. So do you acknowledge that it was the service line that was blocked and not the sewer line?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, okay. And continue.
Well, that's, the repair was made by the contractor.
The one that dug, thinking that it was the city's
Yes.
responsibility, and that's why they were hired by you.
Correct. So he has a bill for, and I don't...
$3,800.
$3,800, and what we told was to bill the homeowner, because it was the homeowner's service. However, we were the one, as the city, that made the call to dig out on the street to make the repair, thinking it was the main. So it's kind of an odd situation.
Yeah. What would you like to tell us about it, Mr. Silva?
I just I came to this point because I don't have $3,800 to pay.
Yeah, I understand.
And
Well, we understand, and you had.
and I didn't make the call. I know they made the call and they
Yeah.
found out it was their problem and they billed me, but
But you had the benefit of it.
no, I know. Yes,
Yeah, you have
yes.
the benefit of it. What do you, how do you think it should be handled?
Honestly, I have no idea. But maybe split the bill in half, or
Well, if, I don't know what you guys think, but if we split the bill in half, would you be able to pay that, or would you, we could add it, I guess if we did that, we could add it to your quarterly bill, but that would accrue interest.
yes, yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. What do you think about that as a resolution?
If we can do that, I mean, if it's the last point, I don't have $3,800 to pay, so.
And-
If it
and-
comes to that I need to pay over the time on my billing, I'll do that, but
You do it in pieces?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think it'd be fair to split in this case, especially given the benefit and the call made. It is kind of a unique situation, it's just kind of the situation we're left with.
Sounds like a funky, like you both said, a funky connection to the
Mhm.
main line where you did already pay someone to come out to try and fix it,
Yep.
and they thought there wasn't a blockage in your system, you didn't try to address it, and you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. But on the other side, you did get the benefit of, it getting repaired.
Yeah, I mean, the problem gets solved, right? Yeah.
Problem solved now, yes.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys,
I'll motion to reduce the bill by half. Mr. Silva, would you like to split the payment over time?
Yes, please.
Okay, and split the payment over time into his water bill.
Second?
do we need to identify the amount of payments, or is it gonna be, over how many, I mean, it's gonna be $1,900 over the course of how many payments?
$200 each bill will be good.
Okay, so that'd be
So put us
that'd be
in-
2 years and,
Another quarter?
Yeah.
That would end up getting leaned. I don't know how that would, 2 years.
can you do it in 2 years, can you do it in 2 years?
Yeah, sure.
2 years, which would be 8 payments?
8 payments.
8 instead of 9.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, I don't know how the system works as far as any payment that's greater than a year gets leaned.
Well,
So-
that's not an outstanding amount, it's an agreement that we've made, that we're making to accept payment, or those payments.
I understand, I just don't, I gotta talk to the girls to see if we
Okay.
can physically do it, but yeah.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, motion to reduce payment in half and figure out a payment schedule and that works.
And it's $200 per month or
$200
For a
per
billing cycle.
billing cycle, which would be 3 months, so four, that would be, over 2 years, it'd be 8 payments. That seems fair to me. You guys? So you made that as a motion?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Glad it got resolved.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes.
You had the benefit of it. If the city hadn't done it, you would have had to pay the contractor to come back and fix it.
No, I understand.
Had to find it first, you know. And so your guy only had to dig up a certain portion, or did he dig up the whole,
Mine, it was from the house to the sidewalk. All the way.
the whole, well, you wouldn't.
I was already there,
Wouldn't
so-
want to do it again.
No, it's old clay, it was in
Yeah.
pretty rough shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. That's the
Thank
way
you
we're
very
gonna do
much.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Have a good
Silva.
day.
Okay.
Take care.
Representative from coming in.
No, I think,
Let's not wait.
next order of business is a series of 6 poll location petitions that have been submitted by National Grid, either for singly owned pole or jointly owned poles, and underground conduit. First is item number 10655, a petition by National Grid and Verizon on Matthew Street to install 2 jointly owned poles on Matthew Street beginning at a point 3,700 feet east of the center line of the intersection of Green Street and continuing approximately 300 feet in a southerly direction. Install 2 poles underneath the transmission cross. I believe this was not the one, it was the next one that had an error in it. But this one, I think although there isn't anybody from National Grid here, we do have a report from our city engineer who felt that there was no comment that he wanted to make regarding this particular petition. So, I invite your input. This seemed pretty straightforward to me, this particular one.
Director,
Of course.
Director Arnold, was this 0 Matthew Street? Was that one of the constituents that was recommending this project move forward, or was that a different project?
I'm not involved in polls, so
Well, I can tell you that I got a call from the owner of the property who's gonna be, who these poles are being installed and services being provided to his location. He's got a series of lots that he wants service to, so it is that, if that's what you're talking about.
It is, yes, okay. These seem necessary then.
Yeah, and there didn't seem to be anything from the engineering point of view for as far as locations and so forth that needed to be addressed on this one. So I'd entertain a motion to recommend approval of the petition.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to recommend approval passes. Second, the next one is 10656, a petition by National Grid on Matthew Street to install 5 singly owned poles on Matthew Street beginning at a point 1,400 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Route 140 and continuing approximately 780 feet in a northerly direction. Install 5 poles to extend line for a new service. This is more particularly the one, this is the one that had 200 feet instead of 1,400 feet.
Correct.
And that's been corrected. And I just say for the record that had the representative from National Grid been here at our service committee meeting when this first came up, it would have been approved by now, probably, because the correction would have been identified and made. So in any event, here we are now with this one. And the engineer in his report indicates that he had no comment or concern regarding this particular pole location, or pole location, I should say.
Move to recommend this petition to the council.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Next item is new ones to the committee, 10685, petition by National Grid and Verizon New England Inc. On Cross Street to install 1 jointly owned pole on Cross Street beginning at a point approximately 45 feet west of the center line at the intersection of Sherman Street to install stub pole 584 Cross Street, across from existing pole 5C and Cross Street, the intersection of Sherman. We have a report from the engineer with no comment, is his comment. So apparently they did not raise any concerns about this. Basically, according to the map, it's installing the pole across the street from an existing one for reasons hopefully will come out at the public hearing.
There being no concerns from the city engineer, I move to recommend to the council.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion, aye, the motion passes. Next item is 10686, petition by National Grid on Timpani Boulevard to install electric conduits 269.5 feet northwest of the center line of the intersection of Donlin Street and Timpani Boulevard, and continuing approximately 411 feet in the southerly direction, and to install 411 feet of 1 to 2-inch conduit from handhold 3-80, handhold 6-80 on Tiffany Boulevard as shown in the plans. and to install heavy-duty handholds H3, handhold 3-80, and handhold 5-80, and handhold 6-80 on Timber Boulevard. We have a plan. This, I'm not sure again what the reason for it is, but the engineer had no comment regarding this particular petition. And hopefully we can find out more about the reasons for it at the public hearing. Because I think if nobody else does, we should ask the question.
Fair, fair enough. At this point, though, would recommend approval to the council, to the full council.
Second.
Well, the motion is made to recommend approval of the petition to the council. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Next item is 10687, petition by National Grid on Pearson Boulevard to install electric conduits at a point approximately 588 feet southeast of the center line of the intersection of Elm Street and Pearson Boulevard, and continuing approximately 128 feet in the southeasterly direction, and to install 149 feet of 1 to 2 inch conduit from P4-80 to P5 on Pearson Boulevard as shown in the plans, to install heavy-duty handholds, handhold 4-80 and handhold 5 on Pearson Boulevard as shown in the plans. This is, I spoke with Rob about this. This one and the next one have to do with trying to solve the problem of lighting under the underpass, or through the underpass of these two locations. It's been an ongoing problem for a number of years, and who had the responsibility to do it, and why it wasn't solved when they redid the bridges and so forth, because that's when the problem came up. But this is an effort, finally, National Grid has taken responsibility, as they should, I think, for rectifying the situation, and this is an effort toward it in that project. Are you aware of anything associated with that, Dave?
I know that there's just an issue on the next.
On the next one, yeah.
If they were here, they would have heard that compliment.
Yeah. Backhanded as it might be.
I move to recommend to the council.
Okay.
Second.
Motion is to recommend approval of the petition to the council. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes. It's just say for the record that the engineer's report indicates no comment on that particular one we just read. And the final pole location petition is 10688, a petition by National Grid on Pearson Boulevard to install electric conduits beginning at a point approximately 176 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of Olney Street and Pearson Boulevard, and continuing 88 feet in the northeasterly direction to install 106 feet of 1 to 2 inch conduit from pole 21-80 to pole 15-80 on Pearson Boulevard as shown in the plans, and to install heavy duty handholds 21-80 and 15-80 on Pearson Boulevard as shown in the plans. Our engineer did have some concern about this, and for the record, his comment is that Pearson Boulevard in the area of this installation is currently under construction and will be repaved soon. The limit of this construction is at existing pole P21-80. The proposed handhold of 21-80 and associated conduit will need to be relocated to the north of the limit of the construction such that it does not disturb the new construction. Apparently, I talked to the engineer about this yesterday as well, and apparently this handhold is like a junction box, and their proposal is to locate it immediately at the location of a pole, of an existing pole that would disturb the project that's under construction on Pearson Boulevard at the present time. He tells me he's passed along his concerns and his recommendation relocation to the appropriate people National Grid, and is confident they'll be responsive to it. So,
Would be keeping this one, we're not recommending it, because.
no, I think we can recommend it with the notation that the engineer's recommendation.
Okay, so move.
Second.
Okay, so the motion is to recommend approval of the petition with the condition relayed by the city engineer. Second, motion is seconded. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes. Once again, it would have been nice to have confirmation of their awareness of this concern, and confirmation that they were aware of it, will be responsive to it, but we can address that at the public hearing, perhaps. Okay, the next item is next item is a requesting for annual cover material reimbursement from the sewer department to the city. Dave?
Well, several years ago, we started selling or supplying Suez at the time, and now Veolia cover material for the sludge landfill, to cover the sludge when it's up there. We've been doing this now for, I believe, 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we count the amount of trucks, come up with the volume of how much we've provided them, and we checked into the current cost. It's about $8.50 delivered from to purchase it retail. We figured a fair price would be to cut it in half, since I was right there. The city owns it. We kind of do it as fill-in time to provide them the material. We use approximately 9,400 yards. If it calculated out, it's about $40,086 for. That would be a transfer from the sewer department to the
Sewer surplus?
sewer surplus into the public works new equipment line item.
Why new equipment?
We use that to basically replace the equipment that we're using to deliver it. That's what we've done in the past.
Okay, in the 5 years that this has been done, the transfer has been to public works new equipment?
Correct.
Okay, has the mayor indicated that he'll send the order transferring them?
I haven't,
An appropriation?
I'm
Yep.
speaking to the committee first, and I'll send it up to.
Well, it makes sense, we've done it in the past, and I recall doing it, and it's, as long as it's a fair rate, you know, in the final analysis, it's up to the mayor to decide whether he wants to appropriate the money from the sewer surplus to these accounts, or to some other account if he decides, but is there particular equipment that the money would be designated for, or just?
What I've done, actually, I believe last year, is I encumbered it, and I'm trying to maybe buy a 6-wheeler or something that would.
So you're trying to accumulate money?
To try to get a 6-wheeler so that we can deliver.
Do you have a sense of what the encumbered amount is?
Offhand, I believe it is 1.5 years of this, so I believe I'm at about 67,000-ish. Don't quote me on the number, but I believe it's right on it.
And your plan would be request encumbrance of this, assuming it's transferred, to add to that?
I would add to it and then get to the point where, as if I'm using it for water, sewer, highway work, offset the additional funds that I would need for a dump truck out of the 3 accounts, the 2 enterprise accounts in the city, to purchase 1 truck that would be used for.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Well, I suppose the action that you'd be in is to support the transfer?
Correct.
Okay. What do you guys think?
Makes sense to me. I think it works both ways for both groups, both for the TPW and the sewer. I would recommend the transfer.
So the motion is to support the transfer of the funds, notify the mayor, ask the director to notify the mayor of the committee support for the transfer.
Second.
Is there further discussion on the motion? Questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, department updates. Public Works, Water, Sewer, floor is yours, Mr. Arnold.
Right, I feel like I'm on an island down here, but, update on the ordinances, I presented that a while back. We've since talked to community development, and they're updating their subdivision rules and regs, which are going to tie in to some of our city specifications, which are gonna go to some of the ordinances. So I'm asking the committee to table this until, community development is done with their subdivision regs update, and we can just do it all at once.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're actively on our agenda at the present time, so I think all we need to do is await further submissions for our consideration.
Right.
Okay.
Paving schedule, we are looking at the June 13th to start our final cleaning up the Monadnock, West Street, West Line, Central, Woodland, Parker Street. We're starting on the 13th milling, and we're gonna be right behind them lifting, adjusting structures and paving. And I'm hoping, all goes well, start on the 13th and be done paving sometime early week, second week in July is what we're hoping, and that's if the weather.
About 3 weeks.
The gas company's still up on Central Street. They figured it'd be done about I think it was around the 5th or 6th of June. So I want to give them a little bit of time in case they run into some problems. Water department, we're all done as far as the water main connections on Woodland Avenue. We had an interesting tie-in on the main transmission line that goes from the Crystal Lake up to the tanks, and tying in the main line on Woodland that we just laid down. It actually went as smooth as could be, but kept me up at night thinking about the tie-in of the transmission line, but it went smooth. And then yesterday, they just finished the tie-in on Woodland Avenue down on Green in front of the hospital. So Woodland Avenue, we just gotta correct a couple of service issues up there, and that's good to go. And then West Street, Monadnock, Parker, those are all good to go. So it's just getting the contractor in, and we're gonna try to bang it out soon.
Are there extra costs associated with asphalt that are not currently covered? Or?
Funny you ask. Tomorrow is our bid opening for paving, so.
For this paving?
Yeah, nope, this is gonna be on old contract.
Yeah.
So there is an escalation clause in all paving, as far as the cost of asphalt. They are allotted a price increase. So I figure this is gonna cost us about, the bid we used to be 72 bucks a ton. I'm figuring this is gonna be somewhere between 82 and 85 bucks a ton.
Mm-hmm.
They're allowed that escalation. With the bids tomorrow, I don't know how they're gonna go. I'm hoping that they're aggressive. There's quite a bit of interest in our bid, but hopefully.
This is a bid for the projects that you were just talking about? Or just our Chapter 90 paving?
The bid that I'm opening up tomorrow is for all future bids beyond finishing what I just gone over.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
a 3-year contract.
Okay.
So it's gonna cover the Robillard area and any other paving that we're gonna take on over the next 3 years.
Oh.
Um,
Because we haven't announced Chapter 90 paving for the current year as yet, have we?
No, but I believe the money that is currently, the city has is going down to that Robillard area
Mhm.
for sidewalks and the Lawrence Street walk
Mhm.
and whatnot.
Mhm.
But and we also got $315,000 of pothole money. The state says they have it, they just haven't released it to cities and townships, so that's another $300K, which sounds like a lot, but it doesn't really go that far.
It doesn't carry too far. Yeah.
Just Pearson Boulevard, we were talking about.
Well, one last thing on that. Are we relying upon the state budget for our allocation of Chapter 90 funds? Or
That's been issued as far as the paperwork has been, cities have been told by the state we're getting 600 and
Okay.
something thousand plus 315,000. So we're getting like 900K from the state. And
Okay.
then the city has money left over from last year. I'm assuming the council will approve I believe they put 150K in my
Mhm.
FY '23 budget. And if there's anything hopefully left over, it comes towards paving, because
Yep.
it goes a long way.
Okay. I interrupted you. Go
No.
ahead.
Pearson Boulevard, they got a call yesterday from the state, and the granite supplier that supplies the granite curbing for the projects, basically, I forget the company's name, but they do it for everybody. they went out of business. So the contractor is now scrambling to try to find a granite contractor to get supply. So that project right now is on hold until the state and the contractor can line up a granite supplier.
Got the first course down though, right?
Yeah, base course down, but it may stay there for a month, you know, it's kind of a holdup, so no fault of anyone other than,
And then all of our eggs, everybody's eggs in one basket, right?
Yeah. And Route 140, I don't know if anyone's taken a drive north on Route 140, that has been milled and the state's out there cleaning catch basins and getting ready to at least put the binder coat down out there. So that's paving.
Mhm. Any questions about status of paving?
Jump to line painting. We just opened a bid yesterday. We used to pay 18 grand-ish to to paint the entire city. That includes gutter lines and center lines. We do all our crosswalks and stop paws and everything. We do that in-house, but gutter lines and center lines, we used to pay 18K. Low bidder yesterday was 30K. So that's another thing that all comes out of like either parking meters money, and it also comes out of city funds. So next year, I might be looking at asking the council / mayor, we may need money to pay for line painting.
So any possibility of expanding the work that that is done in-house?
We looked into that, we looked into a setup for it. I mean, we looked on like a pickup truck setup with it just wouldn't be as professional. And these companies, they're all set up.
Have the
with giant
grids,
thing.
yeah.
Not to mention, they have a better way of getting paint, whereas we'd be buying small quantities compared to, say, 3M type of thing. I think it would be
So it's
a bigger problem.
not so much the availability of paint, it's the price by reason of the limited supply?
Yeah, well, obviously, there is a supply issue with
Yes.
chlorinated paint, so it's definitely added the cost. And I'm sure they're driving a truck paying diesel fuel, so that
That's
also.
an element of it, yeah.
Yeah, which, unfortunately, we're all paying for it.
Those bidding, those are always just 1 year and not 3 years?
We do 1 year with up to 3 years of renewable. Same with paving. I mean, if we see the oil prices crash, and we may go up to bid again next year, depending on.
Yeah, we have options.
Yes.
So essentially, it's a year with 2 years. And sometimes, with some contracts, we go up to 5, 1 year with 4 options, depending upon the circumstances are, yeah.
Never seen prices go down though. The other thing is that if you do drive Pearl Street, you're gonna notice an area that doesn't have a center line. And it's from more or less in Dunn's Park, where the new entrance of the school is, because the school contractor is on the hook. They're gonna actually put in turning lanes, and they're gonna change the center line to allow for left-hand turn lanes and whatnot. So we didn't want to just blindly put the center line in front of the school and then have them in a month or 2 months come and either have to grind the road, or so we left it blank. It was done on purpose. We've reached out to the school.
It was on purpose.
Yes, it was on purpose. We've reached out to the school, and they're gonna try to work with the contractor to at least get that wrapped up, but I don't have a date on when they're gonna get it done, so.
It's probably toward the end of the project, I would guess,
Yes.
rather than in the active construction part.
Right. So we may end up trying to look into, maybe we get some sticky tape or, 3M tape or something and lay it down just to try to give a center line so that, for safety issues, but we didn't forget it, it was done. We're down actually in the Robelot area now doing some construction work because we're getting ready to replace some of the sidewalks and road. I've reached out to the work councilor Nate, and I will be taking a ride with him on Tuesday just to kind of go around the outskirts of the areas and show. There's a couple of streets like Robelard and Wickman that they're 25 feet up here, and down the bottom they're 46 feet. So we're trying to, make it a little more uniform and tighten up the neighborhood, more green space and whatnot. Brand new sidewalks.
Are there any areas that you have plans to roads that you plan to square off?
Yes. intersection of Robillard and Parker Street has a, it's got an island, but it also has another triangle island that kind of shoots through on a awkward angle. We're looking at squaring that. We've actually put some white paint out. We put some paint on for the individual that lives in the corner for his driveway to show. And we do this to kind of make awareness of it, so that maybe our phone will ring if someone has an issue or a concern. One of the things I'm gonna ask Nate on Monday is to go down and talk to the homeowner on the corner as well. But from what I understand, I think on the last time we discussed this, when he was chair, I believe he had talked to that homeowner, they were good with it, but I just want to confirm that. It's been in front of the traffic commission.
Yeah. I just think, I'll look into this further, and I'll let you know about it, but I think there's an ordinance that addresses the procedure that has to be followed when a public way is modified.
Okay.
And it's in a where it has to do with notification and public hearings, and I think, but I don't want to comment on it until I look at it again, but I think there's a procedure that is codified in our ordinances for modifying public ways after, accepted public ways.
Yeah, I think when we made Vernon Street one way, if there was a public hearing, I don't believe it was, I think it was just a
Well,
council.
that's, I'm talking about the
Physical.
the physical layout.
Yeah.
And so I'll look into that further. I'll let you know. But I think this has been a topic of concern for me in the past, as you know.
Yes.
And
First secretary.
so I'll follow up on that and send you the reference
Sure.
to the code, assuming I'm pretty sure there is one. So.
Okay.
Very good.
We are under an official water ban. We were just notified today from Veolia. Actually, it really hasn't rained much, and even though the grass is still growing and it's expensive to mow. It's monitored by stream flow, so we have to go out and we have to measure stream flow in particular at a particular gauge, and it's below, the flow is below that. So we have to notify DEP, and we have to put up signs, we have to put on social media and the website and whatnot. So it's for handhelds, or what is it, non-essential, no non-essential watering between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And that's what we're under right now.
And is there a reason for the hours limitation that you were?
I think generally
when the sun is out, it's just you're just not getting any benefit from the water because it's all evaporating.
that's pretty much it. You're more or less wasting more water by watering in the depths than the sun.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they do that.
Has that always been the case, or have we had bans that were 24 hours?
Oh yes, as the severity picks up, it's, it used to be odd even and whatnot, but no, as the severity picks up, it goes handheld, and then eventually it's no outdoor watering, only for commercial use, and there's separate tiers.
There's gradations.
Yeah. Actually, funny story, I got a call about a water ban once, that there was someone who lived on the even side of the road, and there was a complaint that it was unfair because the person across the street gets to water their lawn twice, because all months start odd, but not every month ends even. It's kind of interesting.
Well, there's 365 days a year, so it's an odd number. The other guys get the benefit of it.
Yeah, you get 5 extra watering days or something.
Doing a lot of watering in December.
Just another update is I have a couple of line item deficits, which we had mentioned before. The snow and ice, actually, there's still a deficit of $13K. Street lighting, we are up to a deficit of 27, almost 28,000. With still, I believe there's still May and June to pay on that. The fuel is that we are at a positive on that. We have about 9,000 on that, but there's still 2 more months left on that. And I think there's gonna be a deficit on all 3 of those line items. So I reached out to the auditor, and because we've had so many vacancies at the DPW, I think there's gonna be at least some of the money to take the curse out of that deficit, out of my maintenance crew, but we need council.
Salary and labor.
Yeah, but we're gonna need council approval to take money from a salary down and transfer
into maintenance, yeah.
So I think that's coming, just as a heads up.
Well, in prior years, such changes or changes in accounts that some people didn't think it required council approval.
And then the other thing is that, another thing is that.
Actually, within the last, excuse me for interrupting, but I think that there's an exception within the last 60 days of a fiscal year, you can make changes.
I'm not aware of that.
Make transfer, there's something about that in the state law. Forget what chapter, but in the Department of Revenue rules, but that's up for the mayor to figure out.
Just as a little background, for probably the last 5 or 6 years, I haven't been in front of the council to ask for overtime money from the DPW. But we are working overtime because we're shorthanded trying to get the parks and playgrounds and paving and all this. But because we've been shorthanded, we've transferred money from maintenance crew down to overtime to cover those costs. But
Yeah,
it's just,
that's on the salary labor side though.
yes, yep. Just a FYI. DPW is working with community development. They're looking at putting in a pavilion down at the dog park. So it's just a matter of us, we gotta pour the slab, and Lindsay up at community development has ordered a pavilion, so we'll be putting that up at the dog park soon.
Is that, well, if she, is that grant funded? Or-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got it right.
And what's the purpose of the pavilion? How is it just to
Shade
shade?
dogs. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what location? Is it gonna be on the Charbonneau Street side or the other side?
I think it's gonna be in a large area on the Ford side. We gotta find a spot that's dry enough to try to. put
Maybe a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually the issue down there, but we'll make it work. We got the bus stop that Mark installed. I think we're just waiting for them to come in and install them. We built a concrete pad out in front of Prospect School and for a bus stop. They're doing survey across the street where they were today for the salt shed. And another thing is we asked out of the ARPA money for a sign room, because our sign department down there is cramped, very, very cramped. And the mayor has agreed to give us some funding for a sign room, so we're looking into getting a proposal together to design, and we would eventually put out to bid a sign room.
Within this facility or?
No, I think it's actually gonna go down, if you go to the animal shelter on West Bryway, next to it is a grinding road that leads out to the wastewater plant. I think we're gonna put it out there. We own the property, it's a pretty nice spot for it, so.
Does that create supervision issues at all, or?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think that's it.
Any developments in that second transmission line?
It is, I think we're gonna go out to bid probably over the summer, depending on when we find out if we have money for it.
Mm-hmm.
We're still waiting for the grant notice.
Yeah. So that's been submitted,
Yes.
grant application?
Yeah, and I don't know when they release it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming summer, but I don't know.
Understand. Questions, comments?
Anything?
No, thank you for the update.
Yeah, no, it's great. The Bucks have been watching on South Gardner, so thank you very much. The resident will be very pleased. She's been asking about it for some time, so it's appreciated.
I have nothing else. So, nothing else, and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Meeting stands adjourned.